Turtonida, Latias, Giratina, and Hydreigon are all lesbians. I will not be ranking them. Guzzlord is immediately bringing kinks into it, kinks that you do not share, that he insists on participating in. Flapple is like 18, but ensures that he's really mature for his age. Trampa is just an old pervert. He thinks he can sugar daddy you, but doesn't actually have that much money in the first place. Eternatus doesn't know how to ask for something instead of demanding it. Tatsugiri is cute, but all your friends have warned you about him. Total male manipulator, has a real history. And Kurim is just an incel. Dracovish has absolutely no idea how to make conversation, and it's kind of funny and cute from the point of view of having like a little one-night stand, but is absolutely untenable for any kind of relationship beyond that. You could maybe have gotten to know Reggie Drago better, but he nearly put you in hospital when you did it, so kind of not worth the risk. Baxcalibur, Haxorus, and Rayquaza all have obvious anger issues from a single interaction, Haxorus in particular being kind of scary. Duraludon is uncomfortable with being hugged, and Naganadel basically can't have fun unless under the influence of something. Alright, now we're reaching the level of actually dating. So, Komodo is way too fixated on his own career goals to really stick with you, and it was very clear when you met each other in the workplace that it was kind of not going to last very long, but you didn't really know anyone, and you weren't dating anyone currently, and he seemed at least a little bit interested, so you gave it a go. Dragapult is one of those people who will enter your life very suddenly like a blip and disappear in just the same way. Perhaps going on a trip to Paris or something like that, and just kind of completely losing contact after that point. Dragalge and you got involved purely because you had a sort of subcultural connection through like music, going to gigs, things of that nature, but it never really clicked in the same way. It was just fun to have a person to kiss while you were there. Garchomp considered himself way out of your league and only really hung around with you because you were going to school together and the pool was pretty small. Zygarde had a lot of interesting, sensitive, artistic, creative qualities that you felt might unleash in a more profound and like exciting way if you only stayed with him for longer, but that never really came out and it kind of just slowly evaporated over time. You're not even sure if he really felt anything about you in the first place. Dialga's a bit like Zygarde, but you were more interested in his body than his, like, spiritual side, and it was very clear that that just wasn't gonna last. Charizard X only seemed to be interested in dating anyone for small bursts at a time, and you kind of got to know him during one of those bursts, but the moment that was over, it was like, okay, well, I'm not waiting around for you. And of course, Miraidon basically just thinks you're useful. For what end, you don't know. It was obvious from the beginning, but he's pretty cute, so you stuck around as long as you cared to. Appleton is cute, talented, does a lot of cooking, baking, crafting, all these beautiful, homely things that you find quite warm, but he never really wants to go out or do anything or really exert energy in general, and sleeps half the day. You think he might have narcolepsy or something, but he seems to have no intention of treating it and has kind of romanticized that cottagecore lifestyle to the point where you just run out of things to do. Things are really exciting and vibrant with Kingdra until he gets picked to go on Drag Race, and then you basically never see him again. Dracozolt has a legendary ass, is really funny, but has severely untreated and probably unrecognized ADHD, and eventually you just get tired of being the only one who has any capacity to support you two financially. Druddigon is pretty cute, works hard, works out, looks after himself, but is really defensive about the few non-masculine interests he has and the time that he watched My Little Pony in high school, and refuses to put his guard down about those things even with you. Noivern is a fuckboy who just happens to have extremely excellent music taste. Salamence is a lot more kind and soft than his rocky, sharp exterior would suggest, but he still refuses to go to therapy and has pretty bad parental issues. Palkia's parents instilled him with a desperate need to keep every space perfectly organized and clean at all times, in a way that is almost impossible to be compatible with long term. He broke up with you. And Cyclizar is an evil twink. Ampharos is really cute and wonderful and creative, but comes from a pretty rich background as kind of a nepo baby, and while the ways in which his cluelessness about the world is often cute, when it comes to his parents and the oil company that they own, he's not quite willing to budge on the reality of the ethics of that and will ultimately choose placating his family over being with you, even though he really, really wants both. He might eventually regret it and change his ways and make that distance, but you're probably the sacrificial relationship in that growth. Flygon is an absolute sweetheart who has all the right opinions on everything, and yet keeps around this group of friends that lead back to high school, all of whom are just the shittiest guys ever who post racist memes. You look at their group chat names and you don't want to repeat them, and he refuses to call them out on that or hold them to a higher standard and will probably ultimately choose them over you. Altaria is an absolutely gorgeous sweetheart. The reason why you won't be boyfriends for very long is because she will not remain a boy for very long. And if you want to help her through that and follow her with that, that's wonderful. But we are ranking boyfriends here. Zekrom and Reshiram are pretty beautiful, well-rounded human beings, but they have very strong opinions on basically everything, and certain things that they refuse to budge on will probably come to a head in your relationship. It's about compromise. You have to be able to compromise, and they're just not quite able to do that. Latios is constantly battling between his tender self and the expectations of masculinity that he's truly internalized and haven't been able to let go of. He is very protective, very doting, looks after you, makes sure you're looking after yourself, staying hydrated, eating well. You exercise together, but ultimately, the amount of dogma, the amount of guilt and responsibility he feels can be kind of exhausting, and you spend a lot of time managing his emotions, even though they come from a good place. Okay, it's time for the real true husbands. Dragonite is cute, tall, strong, versatile, works hard, really cares, has a wonderful smile, and is probably a trans guy. Beautiful, chubby little friend. Love him so much. Gudra is much the same, except he also has autism and ADHD and is a real silly little beautiful little guy. They are both wonderful. Koraidon is pretty stupid, but is absolutely gorgeous, very caring, very cute, and all the ways in which he's a bit stupid are kind of adorable. He's one day going to be incredibly famous as an actor, and he will take you with him every step of the way. He's going to do his absolute best to help you grow your little side project brand with all of the clout he's accrued. You're equal, you're partners, you're in this together, and you're going to climb to the top of the world together. A perfect partner for the more ambitious fellow.